Hello, it's Mr. Westra here with Half-Brother 23, Part 2. Dad made the official announcement at the next Sunday meeting. I was allowed to attend. He told everyone Project Zan was being shut down. There were lots of questions. There was confusion. There were some tears. Dad sat placidly in his chair. Despite all that he's learned, despite his proficiency and the occasional flair for creativity, Greg Jaworski and I are not convinced he's learning human language, or ever will. But he's taught us a great deal, and for that, we're very grateful to him. What will happen to him? Asked one of the students. Well, technically Zan is the property of the university, and they, like me, understand that Zan belongs to science. The phrase made me feel sick to my stomach. Zan didn't belong to science. He belonged to his rear mother, but we had stolen him and raised him to think he belonged to us. That means, said Dad, that we're eager to find a good home for him elsewhere. Not a zoo, not the entertainment industry, but a proper research institution. But not a biomedical lab, Peter said. Dad looked at Peter in surprise. I would never transfer Zan to a biomedical lab. So no invasive procedures? Peter asked. Invasive, I knew, meant getting stuck with needles or cut open. Dad shook his head. Siegel University in northern Nevada has a primate institute that is very well regarded. I've been talking to them about Zan, and they're willing to take him on. He paused and looked around the table. And they do not conduct any kind of biomedical experiments. Zan's new home will be a very, very good one. So the university sold Zan? I said. Dad looked over at me. Yes, it's a standard transaction with animal test subjects. With every mention of Zan's new home, I felt like the walls of my chest were collapsing until no air was reaching me. Some of the students were looking at me, so I stared at the carpet. What kind of facility is it? Peter asked. Well, I can tell you the chimps will have 25 acres of land and more facilities and professional support staff than we had here. Zan would also have company. They've got some adolescents as well as some adults. And the director, Jack Helson, is very knowledgeable. Zan will be in good hands. No one said anything. Now, I just want to assure you all, Dad said, that none of this has anything to do with your performance on the project. Project Zan was a failure, ladies and gentlemen. This is science, a pursuit of truth. It was not wish fulfillment. It's not fantasy. It told us the truth, and we have to accept that. Now, as it happens, I have a relatively new experiment underway, and it's likely to get a great deal larger very soon. I'd be happy to welcome any of you as research assistants if you're interested. The rats, said Peter. Correct, said Dad. It promises to be a very fruitful project. It was Monday, mid-April, beautiful outside, but everything was colorless to me. In 2 weeks, Zan would be going to his new home. I didn't care about school. Sometimes I didn't even bother handing in my homework. I became a clock watcher. I didn't talk to anyone. Jennifer started looking like someone I'd known a long time ago. A few times David tried to talk to me, but it made me embarrassed, like he just pitied me. I didn't talk in class. I stayed out of people's way. When I got home from school, Peter was outside with Zan. When he saw me through the sliding glass, he waved me out. What's up? I said. He smiled. I'm going with him. It was like the blue in the sky, the green in the trees, had suddenly come back a bit. You mean to Nevada? He nodded. I told your dad I wanted to keep working with Zan, and I applied to grad school at Siegel. Your dad wrote a letter of recommendation for me, and he helped me put together a proposal for working with Zan, to see if he'd teach the other chimps to sign. I guess Jack Helson has all sorts of projects going on down there, and he seemed to think this would fit in with some of them. Dad helped you? I said. A lot. I didn't want to like Dad right now, but I couldn't deny he'd done a nice thing. A good thing. Zan wouldn't be alone. He'd have his favorite friend with him. It wouldn't be me, but it would be the next best thing. Peter grinned. So after I finish up the term here, I'm heading down to Reno. My throat suddenly felt sick. You'll look after him, I said. Peter looked at me straight in the eye. Why do you think I'm going down there? You think I'm crazy about Nevada? It's a desert. You love him too, right? He exhaled through his nose and nodded. I sure do. I hugged him hard, pressed my face into his musty jean jacket so he couldn't see my face get all red and snotty and crumpled. Thanks, Peter, I said. And when I could talk properly again, I added, I wish I could come too. It's all right, he said. Things are going to be all right. 3 days before Zan had to go, he learned his last sign from us. It was the sign for his own name. He'd always understood it when we made it. He knew it meant we were talking about him or to him, but it was a tricky sign to perform. Probably a bad choice on our part. But that day, in the sandbox, he made it. He took his hand and zigzagged it across his chest and made the letter Z. Zan, he said. I smiled and nodded and signed back to him several times, and he seemed very pleased with himself and started using it in all sorts of phrases. Zan eat, Zan drink, Zan play. It was like we'd just given him his name, and now we were taking it away from him.